Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to Comic Books Team Up. Comic Book Team Up. That's I already messed up. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Team Up. This is where RJ from the Fourth Age and I we just talk about comics. We just we have nothing planned. We just filibuster and talk for whatever, an hour, 20 minutes, half hour. How you doing, RJ?
I'm doing good.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, to you as well.
Yeah, for people who are confused, this is like my normal streaming time. Yeah, Comic Book Team Up was normally at 8:30, but I didn't schedule anything because I'm normally working a 3 to 11 shift. But the holiday week, there's only one shift at my job. Everybody's on vacations or whatever, so they just condensed it down to one shift. So Monday I will be back to 3 to 11 till the end of February, pretty much, and then I know it'll be extended again. But so I've just taken this opportunity to have a normal talk with RJ. Kind of miss talking to RJ. Anything going on with you? How's everything?
Not too bad. Things are going along well here. Just trying to get some projects done. That's about all.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of fulfilling my comic. It's Heroic Tales 2. You saw the trailer for it. It's here. It's on that table. It's all over the place. It's taking up my basement. I'm sure RJ understands when you get your comic books, it takes up all the space. And I'm going slow. It's a one-man operation, although I got 4 days to do nothing but pack and ship. So I hope to be done by Sunday. I hope Monday morning I go to the post office and drop off all the comics, and I'm done. And Renzo is already working on issue 1 of the Patriarch. I was just talking to Oscar Carreno today. He's working. He's coloring so much for me right now. I people are dropping off pages from other artists, and he's colored them as we go. And he's drawing Eddie is Doomed. Him and Tonic Bowl are both drawing. They both have half the comic, so he'll probably be done with his half first, and Tonic Bowl is finishing up with his projects, and then he'll finish his, and then Heroic Tales 3 is already written. Renzo has the script, and then for Heroic Tales 4, I'm hoping whoever hands in their stories first for all of these people that I'm working with, that'll be Heroic Tales 4. And while that's being published, Renzo is going to be working on my Santa Claus story, and but Renzo will, and then we'll do Patriarch 2, Patriarch 3. So we got a bunch of, and I just came up with another story. I just talked with another person about a story. Oh man, it's just not enough time, to get everything done that I want to do. Like this fulfilling as much as it's necessary, and it's probably the most important part of this, getting the comic books to you. I haven't written anything in like 2 weeks because I've been doing nothing but my regular job and fulfilling. So enough monologuing. How's everybody doing? How are you doing, RJ?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just preparing for winter, I think. Although we're lucky, no snow yet.
Oh, I was just about to ask you that. Are you snowed in yet?
Nope. Just looking for rain for the next little while.
Yeah, it's drizzling. Yesterday, it took me 3.5 hours to get home from work. I was livid. It was slight drizzle, and it was bumper to bumper traffic from the airport to my house. It was the worst. Oh my god. How you doing, Vaz? Good to see you. Thank you for coming on my channel. I know you're RJ's regular. Luckily, I decided to look at Twitter posts to see it was 7. Thank you. And here's the link. I still got more comics. I'm selling out of the Renzo cover of issue 1. So if you want anything like that, now's the time to get on it. Zach Tan, I got my drive-by blessing. Yang, how you doing, Yang? Good to see you. How's Empire of the Undying Sun? That's Yang's Dungeons Dragons role-playing Kickstarter. I think you can still get that. Check it out. Our Yang is great. Once Was Cool. How you doing? That's Crenshaw. How you doing? Does RJ celebrate Thanksgiving twice every year? Oh, good question.
Yeah, people, I keep on telling people, hey, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, and they look at me like I have 2 heads.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife is Canadian, and she's like, it's Canadian Thanksgiving. So we have a tradition. We just drink maple syrup right out of the bottle. We're crazy. Now she makes like a what I forget what she calls it, but she makes like a tortillere, French Canadian like meat pie or something like that. That's what she makes for Canadian Thanksgiving. I'll eat. You got a holiday? I'll show up and I'll eat. Dr. Mask, how you doing, Dr. Mask? He's got a campaign coming. Sherlock Holmes. I forget the name of your campaign. Put it in Twitter. And I love everybody saying to boo to regular job. I like my job. My job is pretty fun. It's strenuous and I'm tired, but other than that, my we were laughing today at work all day long. Me and my partner, we would just crack it up, telling stupid stories. It's fun. Empire's moving along. Art assignments are out. Good. Texas is just sandy deserts, and Canada is just glaciers. Yeah, there's forests and then tundra. Nothing else in Canada. So when you live in Canada, you're either in the woods or you're in the snow, the glacier.
I'd say just let everybody know. I'm pretty sure that where I am right now is south of northern Maine. So there are parts of the United States still more northern than I am right now.
Right. When I was 18, they changed the drinking age to 21. Like when I was 17. So I was just like, just out of my grasp. So for spring break for high school, we were like, let's drive someplace where we could go drink it. And we're going to drive to New Orleans because it's still 18 in New Orleans. But we ended up driving to Montreal. We realized that driving to Canada was closer, because for those of you who know New York is like a triangle, but then there's like a little corner of it taken out. So Montreal is right there, so we just drove up. It was like a 6-hour drive. And I don't even remember that vacation. It was just like, just drink. And
I can remember, when my oldest brother, when we crossed the border, when he used to be 16 for the drinking age in Canada, when he crossed the border.
Oh, wow. I remember in Montreal, I don't know if it was just beer goggles, which it may be, but Montreal had the most beautiful women everywhere. Like we would joke, and we went to a full service gas station, and I just joked. I said, "Watch, a beautiful blonde's going to come out and pump gas," and boom, a beautiful blonde came out and pumped gas. I was like, I think I want to relocate to Montreal. Except I didn't realize like the city is pretty divided as far as French and English.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know. I was just a dumb kid from New York who just wanted to drink. And we went into a French-speaking bar and sat down, and we're like yelling and screaming, and a bunch of stereotypical lumberjack-looking guys came up and like they were ready to fight. And then it dawned on them that we were New Yorkers, and they were like, "What do you think that they're trying to tell us that we have to put our signs in English?" I said, "Well, don't you have free speech in Canada?" I said, "I was, just in Manhattan. You go to Chinatown, there's Chinese only restaurants. They don't even have menus in English. Do whatever you want. If that alienates the customers, then so be it. You're allowed to run a bad business." And that seemed to satisfy them. They bought us a pitcher of beer, and it was fun.
Yeah, I can remember because I was used to Canadian bars where we would buy 6-7 pitchers at a time, take them over to the table. Then going down to Boston, and you could get one pitcher, and that's it. And it's like, no, we're not giving you 2-3 pitchers. Well, what's the matter with you?
Yeah. It was the Peel pub. If you ever been to Montreal, it was like a cafeteria of just beer. It was. Just tables upon tables upon tables. I'm upstate. Oh, you're upstate New York? Only slightly better than you. Okay. Upstate New York is really, for those of you who don't know, 90% of New York is farms. Long Island is this weird suburb. And then there's the 5 boroughs, which is just disgusting and crowded and pretty much living hell on earth, avoided at all costs. And then pretty much when you go to like Westchester, New York is beautiful. Wide open spaces, sprawling houses, farms and cows, but we think of New York as either Long Island or the 5 boroughs. Yeah, New York is only urban sprawl. Yeah, I know. There's actually a lot of farms near me. Yep, the government still sucks. Did I go through Watertown? I don't know what Watertown is, so I don't know. I have some farming relatives upstate New York, despite living in. Yeah. Believe it or not, there's like a bunch of like Cobleskill is a farming college. You go there to learn agricultural arts in New York, and they made like headlines like 30 years ago. They had a cow that was genetically modified so that its skin was translucent, so you could see its organs. And I think that's got to be the closest thing to disgusting ever. I would not want to see cows' organs, pulsating and whatever. That's like a nightmare. But I guess farmers do. I would starve to death in a wheat field. RJ, could you could like skin animals and farm, right?
Yeah, kind of. But it's what I worked on a farm for a while, and we always went hunting and things like that. But I'm more into like, I remember somebody telling me it's like you can do all these things, right? You could do a farmer's stuff, and I'm going, yeah, it's more like a woodsman stuff. I'm more at home with a axe in my hand out in the woods.
Like trapping animals, like
I used to trap animals when I was a kid.
I always joke around, but as I get older, it's becoming less of a joke that I judge you by how valuable you are when the governments collapse. Like we don't need Shakespearean scholars, when during the apocalypse. So it's like, I don't know. We're still going to need electricians. I could build stuff. I can help you build a house, but I got to move near you, RJ, because like I said, I'm not afraid of hard work, but I don't know how to turn wheat into food. Like I'd just be eating the stalks.
Yeah, I'm getting paranoid after it was that thing came out yesterday, 2 days ago, but the guy from Campbell's Soup saying, I don't eat Campbell's Soup. What, a 3D printed meat? No way. I'm eating that. I'm going, what do I have in my pantry that I don't want to eat anymore?
Right. Campbell's Soups is like, I have some, and but I always got the meatless because the even as a kid, the chunks of Campbell's Soup it just made me sick to my stomach. But I like the noodles and I like the broth. And it's such a comfort food. And now it's like, oh God, like if that doesn't alert, well, what's his name? I do believe that Robert F. Kennedy does care about the health of our country. Like I have no faith in the government. I'm losing faith in Trump every day. But I do believe that RFK really wants to, so like if he doesn't get on Campbell's case, then what good is the FDA? After admitting that, like, why do we have the FDA and we still have companies making food like that? It's just living proof that the government does nothing.
Yeah. Well, I was really lazy this summer and my garden really didn't grow very much, but usually I get a lot of vegetables, and the meat that I have, I just like the rancher. He's a farmer rancher, my best friend. And I helped him build a barn where these cows live, where, I get my meat from. So I actually know, and I've fed the stupid things every once in a while. So I know where my meat's coming from.
Oh, that's good. Vaz says RJ is a ranger. Yeah, we talked about that you would play a ranger if we played Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah. My rangers, every once in a while I play a paladin, mostly ranger.
Yeah. I like paladins, but ranger is second. And I don't care what the modern editions say, rangers have to be good. They're based on.
Oh yeah, you have to be able to turn undead.
Yeah, the rangers and paladins have to be good. Paladins are based on like the Arthurian knights, and rangers are based on the Dunedain, right? Strider. They have to be good. An evil ranger is nothing. Although I do kind of like the concept of an anti-paladin, but to me that's like a non-player. That's like an enemy that you fight. A player shouldn't be an anti-paladin. Cobleskill College grows a lot of their own vegetables and has cows. Yes, okay. So Dr. Mass knows what I'm talking about. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Canada made some new rules to label cloned meat. The industry isn't liking that. Well, score one for the Canadian government. It's one step forward, 172 steps back as far as the Canadian government goes. Not only that, but the FDA won't even let me buy raw milk. Yeah, raw milk can't be bad for you, because that's what people drank for hundreds of years. Yes, people died of dysentery and stuff like that, but we have medicine, like let people drink raw milk. Like the government won't even let people collect rainwater in cans in some states. Like they truly are in an evil way, especially if this this digital ID passes. They're making it so that you have to be dependent upon the government. You know,
Oh yeah, I was just through Europe and going in and out of the Schengen zone. Now you have to give them your fingerprints and your retinal scan.
oh God, it's funny. I just started because I remember I think it was Avengers 182. The it was all the Avengers were on. There was like a billion Avengers, and they were trying to come up with like a way to, you know, who's an official Avenger, who's it. So they, and like none of them wanted to get face prints and fingerprints because that would compromise their secret identities. So Tony Stark was talking to Miss Marvel back when she had that sexy outfit, and he says, "How about a renal scan?" And she goes, "Nobody takes that." He goes, "And because the technology is," he goes, "but I could do it, so we could prove that you're really you, but we don't know who you are." And it's funny because she's all sexy in that outfit, as you know, and it's like a worm's egg, so it's a like her, it's a butt shot, and it's going up to Tony Stark's face. And as a little kid, I thought it was a rectal scan. So I'm thinking Tony Stark's gonna scan Miss Marvel's butt. Like I thought he was flirting with her in a really weird way. So when you just said that, it just brought me back to that panel. I still think about, oh, to be in the Avengers, you got to get your rectum scanned. You know, it's like, okay, nobody else keeps records of that. Like they got the Beast's butt, you know, they got Scarlet Witch's butt. You know, does the the Vision have a butt? You know, he's an android. What does he need a butt for? But I just thought that was the funniest thing. You know, like when I was a little kid, I thought it was funny. Then, like as a teenager, I'm like, are they perverts over there at Marvel? Like, what's going on? And then I realized I just read it wrong and I didn't know what it meant. I guess I'm the pervert.
You probably learned to read like I did. There's none of this phonetic stuff. It was all memorization. So you see a word that looks like what you're thinking of, and that's the word that your brain processed.
That and like figuring it out from context.
Yep.
You know, so many times like I decided I knew what a word was, and then later on I realized it was slightly off, but I got the gist of it. You know, I don't know. Were you a good reader as a kid?
Not a chance. No, I was horrible at school up until about grade 10 or 11. My mother put the fear of God in me, said, "You're going to be working on the farm for the rest of your life, breaking your back unless you get your butt in gear and get some better marks."
Yeah, I was terrible in school. I just wasn't interested. And I couldn't read. Like reading was like the worst. You know, it wasn't really until comic books that I saw the value in reading. You know, and I went from the bottom reading group to the top reading group in third grade. You know, but you know, I in second grade, I think the teachers just passed me because they were like, I don't want to deal with this kid anymore. You know, I was terrible. I was terrible at math, terrible at reading, and then like I met friends who were into comic books, and they were good students. So I didn't want to be teased. You know what I mean? It was like good peer pressure. You know, sometimes peer pressure is a good thing. You know?
Oh yeah, my brothers used to make fun of my reading all the time.
Yeah, you know, and even though at the end of third grade I could read and comprehend really, but I couldn't read out loud.
Yep.
Like so, I guess you know I still sounded like a moron. You know, but I still can't read out loud because that's not really something that you do often. You only do it in school, you know, like, but I like giving speeches and stuff like, and I'll write like keywords and I'll get up, like you can see, I like to talk, you know, so I was teaching and then I taught, you know, electrical theory to adults for a while, and I just write down keywords and I could do speeches and, you know, riff and stuff like that. But you give me something to read out loud, like, you know, we have safety meetings at work and they usually print off something. Today we're going to talk about, you know, the safety hazards of 480 volts. And they always hand it to me to read. And I read like, and they're like, man, I thought you were good at this. I was like, no, I'm good at talking. Reading is a whole different skill. You know?
Yeah, my brain fills in words that aren't there. That's what my brain does. Because whenever it's like something, so I'll tell this little story. Something I used to do with my kids for breakfast. We would read scripture while they're eating their breakfast, right? And every time, like I would always hit something where I would say the wrong word, but I just keep on going because it'd be close enough, right? And
Right.
it'd be like that. That's the way my reading goes. It's like it fills in things that aren't there, and sometimes it's things that aren't. If someone else had the exact same piece of paper that I did with the exact same words, they'd be looking at me like I had two heads. Like that's not what it says. Yeah, but that's the way I read out loud.
My brother had me read a Bible passage at his wedding. So I read the second, I forget what you call it, but there's a specific word when you get up and you read, this is the word of, and I read it, and then I started to walk away, and I realized I forgot the last line. This is the word of God. And I was nervous, and I was embarrassed that I forgot. So I just went back and I just said, God said that. And then, but I didn't mean to say that. And everybody just laughed. To this day, everyone goes, God said that.
Yeah. Reminds me of the first best man speech that I gave. I literally started the speech by saying, okay, everybody has to realize that at some point I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. Right. And I absolutely did before the end of that speech. Like, I told you I was going to do that.
I just remembered my father was holding me. That's how young I was. And the Catholic church that we went to, for those of you, I know RJ knows, but for those of you who don't know, you receive communion. And that is, you would go up. And what we used to do was we'd go up to the front, and then we would kneel down. They had these cushions and like a rail, and you'd kneel down, and the priest would put the host right into your mouth. And then they changed it so that you could put out your hands, and then they would put it in your hand, and then you put it in your mouth, and then the altar boy would have that golden disc in case you dropped it. And then there was a bunch of changes really quick, and then they made it so that you could stand up. So the priest, and then you chose whatever you did. So the priest had this stand-up microphone, and he would bend it and talk, and then he bent the microphone away while he was doing communion, and we'd go up, and my father's holding me, so my father's receiving communion, and I grabbed the microphone and I just go, calling all cars. Throughout the whole the priest just burst into laughter, just roaring with laughter. Everybody, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just a stupid kid. I had a lot of stupid church outbursts. I'm sure you can appreciate this. Just daydreaming in church, just daydreaming. Not a clue, nothing what's going on. I'm in my own planet. And the priest goes, this is a reading from the book of Jeremiah. And I just go, Jeremiah was a bullfrog at the top of my lungs. And again, the whole church starts laughing. My father's like, I can't take you to church anymore.
I was the exact opposite, John. I would always fall asleep. My mother put the fear of God in me one time. She said to me, you fall asleep again, don't you think that I won't pull down your pants and give you a licking right here in the middle of the damn church?
Oh, I never fell asleep, but I could only imagine if I fell asleep. My mother would say, if you fall asleep in church, you will wake up in hell. Were you an altar boy?
No. It used to be. There was so many when I was a kid. The first 3-4 rows would be filled with altar boys. Like literally, there'd be 20 of them. It was like, nah, there's no reason for me to be there.
Yeah, I was an altar boy, and my friend Sean, we always teamed up together. And Sean would daydream, like Sean was borderline like epileptic. Like he would daydream, and he would start like it was really freaky to watch. We used to call it a freak out. Sean's having a freak out, but he would daydream, and he would start like doing what I'm doing, like shaking his head, stuff like that. And you could just see, and like we would just point at him and laugh, and then all of a sudden he'd be like, "Oh, I did it," right? So if he started daydreaming at church, I would wait for him to do that, and I knew he was miles away. And I when the priest holds up the host, you ring the bells. So we had the bells near us, and every time I would wait for Sean to be in the freak out, like, so the priest is giving his homily, talking or whatever. I go, Sean, you forgot to ring the bell. And he would go, oh, and just pick it up. It doesn't matter what, an hour's laughing. And the priest's like, you two can't be altar boys together anymore. My father would be like, "Oh, Sean, what are you doing, John?" Because I told my father what I was going to do. I'm like, "Oh, I'm serving with Sean. Watch, right in the middle of Sunday mass." There was one altar boy I didn't like, and we're pushing each other. The priest is doing consecrating the mass, and we're off on the side, and he pushes me, and I'm pushing him, and he's pushing me. Next thing you know, I'm punching him, and we're fist fighting. And I just remember from behind, a nun grabbed us by the ear. If you guys don't knock it off, you're gonna get expelled. And that we had to sit there, and we're like, I can't believe you started a fight. You started a fight. Your mother started a fight. I was the worst altar boy. And then I would, because I went to the Catholic school attached to the church, and I realized the nuns, like, if you said, "Oh, I gotta," there's a funeral today, I gotta go serve. Oh, okay. So then I realized they never asked. I guess it was like beyond them to even think that we would lie about serving a mass or something. It's like, Sister Ruth, I gotta go serve a mass, and then just leave and go play pinball for like an hour and a half, and then come back, leave in church. I was the worst altar boy. Yep. So I noticed that there's no comments. Now that we chased everybody away.
You're cracking me up.
Yeah. So, I don't want to spoil it, but my wife has been reading Old Testament, and I asked her about did you read the story about the Witch of Endor? Are you familiar with that story?
Not off the top of my head.
Who is it? Who was the king after Saul? Was it David?
Yeah, David after Saul.
So I think it was David, and God stopped talking to him. David lost God's favor, so he was panicking, and he made a rule there could be no necromancy in Israel. And then next thing you know, God's not talking to him. He's going to war tomorrow, so he finds the Witch of Endor, and he asks her to summon Saul to give him advice. And she's like, you said I can't do necromancy. And he's like, I'm giving you a special. So she does it. Anyway, it's a big story about she summoned Saul and everything. And then he gets killed in battle the next day. I think it was David, right? Is that how David died? Or I forget. But anyway, so that started a whole conversation about witches and monsters in the Old Testament. And I came up with this great story. I just want to bump it up and put it next issue, but I can't. So my question to you is, you ever have everything's ready to go, the artist go, and you just I want to do this story now,
Yep.
Oh
yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And it's funny because you're working with a bunch of different artists. I've mostly worked with Renzo, but I've got 7, maybe 8 artists working on other stories that people haven't seen yet. But when I think of the story, I kind of picture how I want the art to look, and then I kind of approach the artist, or in a few cases, an artist has said, "Hey, I want to work with you," and I see their art, and that inspired a story. So, but this story is Renzo's artwork. You know what I mean? It's not even written yet, but I picture it. So, Renzo, he's got he's got 5 stories before this one, and I'm so excited for it. So here's another question for you. It's a superhero comic, so it has to be action based, and that there has to be fights. That's if you have superhero comics and there's not fights, then you're not really doing superhero comics well. I sweat and tried to think of a clever way to fight. Otherwise, it's just A hits B, B hits back, and then I decide the fight's over, and that's kind of just a waste of everybody's time. So I try to do something clever with each fight. And this fight, based on an Old Testament monster, I like the ending. I think is so freaking clever. So now this is just going to be a brawl. I got one story with the Raven that is just 25 pages of violence and then a very clever ending. This is pretty much the same thing, but it's superhero teams fighting monsters and everything. And the ending, I think, is going to surprise everybody. I think it's really clever, especially people that are into Bible history. Oh man. I just want to be like, Renzo, stop what you do, but I can't, I got a schedule to do it. He's already halfway done with something. But what do you do? Do you just want to hire another artist, or You just
I would love to jump to another project, but I gotta finish the ones I started already.
yeah.
So that's what I it's like. I'm good at the very least at keeping track of good stories, either in my notes or in my head, because I got a couple in my head that I just are just so beautiful, but I don't have the right artist to do them, and they would be just taken away from what I'm doing right now. So I got to finish what I'm doing right now. Right, my project list right now is basically the 4 books that I'm working on right now is get them done before I start anything else at all.
Yeah. Oh, Saul went to Endor. So who? Oh, so Saul went to the Witch of Endor, and he summoned Samuel. Is that the way it is? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. One of the last things he did before he was defeated. Yes, yes. He wanted to talk to Samuel, the last judge and previous prophet. That's right. That's right. There was also a witch from the forest moons of Endor. Yes, yes. Chewbacca. People don't realize that Saul went to talk to Chewbacca on the moon of Endor to talk to the Dagobah. Just being nonsense. But yeah, it was funny because like she was supposed to be like a witch, but you read it, she was actually like a good person. She's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to break the law. And then while she was summoning Samuel, she was just like, I don't want to do this because he's at rest. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was almost like she was a good witch, or she was like cursed with these abilities that she didn't want to use. She's a very interesting character in the Bible. And I keep looking up, where is Endor? Does anybody know? Like, yeah, I know it's the Yavin system, but where is it biblically? Like, there's a whole bunch of places mentioned in the Bible that we don't know where they are. I'm kind of fascinated with that. Like, are they lost? Are they buried? Or is it just like other cities, other places are renamed them? There's a lot of cool, interesting places to live. Yeah. I'm babbling, and I'm dying to spoil the story, but I don't want to spoil the story. Do you do that? You're pretty tight-lipped. I don't know where your stories are going.
I got to tighten up my stories. That's what I got to do. But I was just thinking of what you were talking about there. I don't know if I said this before or not, but there's probably the first 4 or 5 books of Augustine's City of God. It really stuck in my brain when I read it. I don't know, first time I was in university, but he talks a lot about the Roman witchcraft and all their pagan rituals and all these kinds of things and their attempts to try to trap demons in statues and all that. Is like, this is fascinating.
Yeah. I've been doing research on Saint Nicholas because I'm doing this. I want to do a biography of Saint Nicholas as told by Odin. So like, Saint Nicholas has so many freaking cool stories that I actually have to cut out a lot because I can't make this a 200-page book. And just for the sake, like narrative purposes, it doesn't make sense for him to try. But there's so many cool stories. One of my favorite stories is he's traveling to the Council of Nicaea, and he stops at Ephesus, and he stops at the Temple of Diana, and there's just demons come out and they confront him, and he just picks up a hammer and like swings the hammer in the air and knocks down the temple. And all the demons like, why did you do that? Now we have no home. And he's like, begone. How freaking, you better believe that's going to be in the comic. That is so cool. And then on the way back, he finds a tree. He gets blown off course and he lands, I think it's Cyprus, and he finds a cypress tree. And there's just demons that live in the tree, and he just like battles these demons. It's, the story of Saint Nicholas. It's so fascinating. There's a story of a butcher who cuts up these children, and then because he ran out of meat and he can't afford to go out of business, so he cuts up these children, pickles them, and then Saint Nicholas dreams about it, and from his dream, he resurrects them, and these kids like unscrew the bottles and come. Why is there not a Saint Nicholas movie? Like, you don't even need a Santa Claus movie. Saint Nicholas is so freaking cool. Yeah, she seemed shocked when Samuel actually arrived. Yes. Yeah, I feel bad for the Witch of Endor. She did something she didn't want to do because she was commanded by a panicking king. Really, he was panicking. Why doesn't? And it just shows you his character. That God abandoned me, so now I'm going to do some devious stuff to basically undermine God. Oh, I'm going to die tomorrow. You know, that. Where does one find all these St. Nicholas stories? I bought a bunch of books. I can't read online. Like, so I went online and found a bunch of books that other people recommended. And then I bought these books and then just read them and read them and read them. And I've been making like an outline, this, you know, a chronology of his life. And then I'm like literally putting lines through, like, I just can't put this in. So one of the things I want to do when I tell the story, I want to put like, what are they called? Annotations. So at the back couple of pages will literally be, you know, according to this book at this, you know, at this time, this is where he was, this is what he did, you know, a lot of cool stuff. Let
me ask you this question, John. Being grown up in a Catholic household, everybody I knew that had boys, they always had Lives of the Saints for boys. Did you ever have that kicking around your house when you were a kid?
Yeah, the Lives of the Saints, and did you have to pick a saint's name when you got confirmed?
No, my saint's name, I just went with my middle name, Saint, anyways.
Yeah, because, you know, my John, and my middle name is Michael, and then my confirmation name was Paul. So when we got confirmed, we made these like felt ties, so it said John Paul. And I remember the nun said, "Oh, you took the name after the Pope." I was like, no. And she goes, "Why? Why'd you pick Paul?" I said, "Because my mother wouldn't let me pick Ringo." And none got pissed at me. And my friend John, he put John James, and she's like, "Oh, the Apostles." He goes, "Nah, Jimi Hendrix's real name is James." She's like, "That's what they name themselves after rock stars." Yeah. Well, we don't know what happened to the witch after. Yeah, we don't know what happened to her. She just has that one little interesting story. You know,
the good, yeah. I could see a really good story, John. If you haven't already come up with, I'm sure you already come up with your own story for it. But she could be cursed for that and just live cursed to live forever, and she would still be around today.
Because she did that, because the character that I'm, the bad guy in the story, is cursed to live forever. You know, so he's basically unbeatable. So how are the superheroes going to beat him? Well, you'll find out in Heroic Tales 18.
That's the best origin story of Phantom Stranger that I came across. It's Secret Origins. I can't remember what number it is, but it's the fact that Phantom Stranger could possibly be Cartaphilus, the Roman soldier who pierced the side of Christ,
right?
And he was cursed to walk the earth forever, which is contrary to the Lives of the Saints. But hey, it's a good story.
Yeah, well, the Lives of the Saints forgot to include Superman and Batman, so you know, nothing's perfect. Did you have the children's Bible? It was a big, thick book,
illustrated. Yep. Oh yeah.
I love that. I love that.
I was always fascinated by the apocalypse with the meteor coming down and all that stuff, because it was illustrated, right? And it was almost like painted.
Right. It was like a D&D book, you know?
Yeah.
I remember there was one picture where Jesus was tempted by Satan, and, you know, Satan looked like the satyr with the horns and everything. I remember always looking at that picture, and I was always like, is my mom watching me? Like, I shouldn't be looking at the picture. But it was like D&D art. It was beautifully done. So when my wife, you know, she wasn't really Christian for a long time, and then a couple of years ago she turned back to. I bought her a copy of that. I was like, this was my favorite Bible book as a kid.
It's funny because
that's forget it. I'm not doing the issue. Zach Tanner already figured out the ending. They buy him coffee. They talk. They refer to him by his proper pronouns, and he feels justified, and his rage abates because he just wanted to be accepted as who he is genuine. I'm trying to think of all the stupid terms that they use now. He wanted to be accepted as his authentic self. How's that?
Somebody on Twitter shared with me a really good clip. I can't remember the name of the fellow whose channel it is, but he talks about when I was a kid, when we watched, say, Disney movies, the Disney character that was the hero always had to change in order to get to the part where they became good. Where in about the 90s, say, like, I don't know, Ratatouille or something like that, it started to be, no, you don't have to change. You're perfect the way you are. The world has to change to accept you.
Yeah. The hero's journey, right? They have to descend and come back different, more wiser and stuff. Not anymore. It's the world that's wrong. You know, they just don't appreciate you for who you are. Yeah, lazy storytelling. I don't know. I think we talked about this last week that it just everything that I enjoyed is been like cut down. You know, like we've all seen that meme of death, like with all the rows of doors. You know, like Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Doctor Who. You know, Star Trek. You know, and it's Dungeons and Dragons. It's like I'm officially an old guy. Like I'm reading older and older comics. Like I just read this today from 1992. You know, I'm just constantly looking for older stuff that I just missed. You know, well, just got this today, Man with No Strings by Zade Comics. This is excellent. I read half of it so far. Then we had to start streaming.
Beautiful art.
Yeah, beautiful art. And to me, the most fascinating thing about this is the Zade brothers. Phil wrote it. Is he works at an arcade. I forget where he is. I forget what town he's in, but he works in an arcade, and it's the biggest arcade in that state. And it's the kind of place where you pay like $20 and you go and you play pinball and Donkey Kong and everything like that. And there's been a printing press in the back of this place for decades, just gathering dust. So they were talking to the owner. It's like, you know, can we use this? The guy's like, I don't know how to work it. Do you know how to work it? And they tinkered with it, and now they're printing their own comics. They printed this themselves. They went and got paper, you know. So I'm like, this is indie comics right here. You can't be more independent than this. One guy writes it, his brother draws it. Together they buy paper and they print it themselves. They figure out how to do, you know, they print it off like other comics just to get the color right and everything. Like, dude, he could be the next distributor for all of us. You know what I mean?
This is the future. I hate speculation and the speculator comics, but I think this is the future of collecting comics. If you're someone who's a collector, it's the fact that you get things that are just out there, and somebody, like when I talked to Don Chin, he would be like, when I was a kid, we would take these pieces of paper and run them through the mimeograph and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff, people printing their own stuff. I mean, right. That's collecting.
Yeah, like I think I told the story. I don't know if I told it to you before, but one of the guys I used to work with, he's you know how people dress up as like soldiers, what are the war reenactors? Is that what they're called? You know, they do like the Civil War, and you know, and they formations and they act out the battles. Well, he does the same thing, except it's Roman, and they do like a Roman legion, and they, you know, and he's really tall, so he was the banner guy. So he, you know, they would have like authentic sandals and Roman outfits and wear outfits and swords and everything like that, and do all of these Roman. And when they camped, they would make like a Roman camp, and everything like it was like a military thing, and he loved the discipline of it. Like you had to have your leather polished, you had to have your shield cleaned and ready to go, you had to march in formation, and if you wanted to join, he goes, it was a lot of money, and there was one guy in America whose only job is he makes authentic Roman leather stuff. So like a sheath for your sword, sandals, you know, the leather stuff that goes under your armor, you know, and they all like put it in order with this guy, and that guy makes a living from it. But there's probably like one guy in the entire country that does that. I think like the Zade brothers are going to be the guys who still print comics. You know, it's going to get smaller and smaller, but like this is really high quality. You know, like that's what comic books are going to be. It's more and more niche mark. There'll always be comics. You know what I mean? But you know, only weirdos like us will be the ones that actually, because I'm not downloading a comic file. That's, you know, I can't read it on my computer. Everything sucks now. Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's too much for it to be a coincidence. Like in the past 5, 6, 7 years, too many IPs have been destroyed. Like it had to have been planned. You know, like is this part of that Saul Alinsky, like demoralize us all? You know, we even have like, okay, we don't like all the stuff from my childhood. Now we just have to accept the next bunch of slop that they come out with. You know what I mean? I can't help but think like we could still resist if we hold on to Bugs Bunny and Spider-Man and old Star Wars and Star Trek. But now that they made it so that I don't even want to watch the original Star Trek anymore, or and Star Wars, or Bugs Bunny, because they ruined it so much. I'm done with it. Is this part of the plan? Like, oh, okay, well, here's something for you to like, and it's like woke Nickelodeon crap. You know what I mean? Is it give me like, so now like 20 years from now, if I had kids, my kids would grow up liking this like progressive entertainment.
I always said I had younger friend who wanted to take history, and I looked at him and I said, even back in the 90s, I would never pick up a history book and use it for a source unless it was written before 1950, because it just would not be good history anytime after that. And that's the way I feel right now about the books that I want to read. It's like, if this wasn't written before, basically, because you get 60s, 70s, 80s, it's just comics as far as I'm concerned. But you want an actual book, if it wasn't written before 1950, I'm not picking it up anymore. That's why I'm reading Tolkien, Dashiell Hammett. I'm reading Edgar Rice Burroughs, everything.
This is the most recent book that I bought.
Scarlet Pimpernel.
He's supposed to be like the first costume hero. So I'm like, I'll go backwards. I'll go backwards, and I only get physical media. My wife buys DVDs of movies that she likes. I'm buying vinyl again. I don't want other people tampering with my stuff.
Nope, same with me. I'm same as your wife. I buy DVDs now all the time. Like I go yard sale and just buy them for $1, right? Everywhere. And I was trying literally, I'm sure you could probably get something like this where you are in New York, but I can't. It's like I'm contacting guys going, can you fix my VCR? And they're like, not a chance. Go away.
That's weird. My mic just turned off. Oh, yeah. You got to get the guys from Red Letter Media to come and spend the next 7 years at your house fixing your VCR. I don't know if you watch that. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
I know Red Letter Media, but I don't.
Yeah, that was one of their skits, is that they were fixing the guy's VCR, and they would, bilk him out of money, and then they would put in VHS and then watch the movie and then talk about it. That was like the framing work for them reviewing movies. Yeah, only analog is real. I told the story a million times. I don't know if I told you, but I bought a turntable. Well, a friend of mine gave me his turntable and stereo speaker, so I got like an 80s, 90s stereo setup up there. And
I got one right next to me. Yep, I got one right next to me.
Boxes of all LPs. I got my LPs out of storage. And then right by me, there's Mr. Cheapo's Records. And back in the 90s, I used to go to Mr. Cheapo's, and it was like $1 for a used record. It was the best way to get records. And then if I really liked the record, I would buy it new, because the used ones had skips and whatever. But for $1, so I went there. I'm like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna get this record. It was like $40 for a freaking record. I'm like, you're kidding me? So so now my wife just bought a little turntable. I like it. It's like a retro wooden faux 1940s thing. So it looks like you would see it on a Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Because the upstairs of our house is like unmodified from 1968. So it's like all old fashioned. My wife has, I moved in. I'm like, oh man, this is going to cost a fortune to redecorate. My wife's like, I love it. Don't touch it. So, all right. So she bought this, and it looks nice. It fits in. It also has Bluetooth and stuff. So it has all the modern stuff. But like now she's like, let's go this weekend to the retro place and look for records. I'm like, all right, cool. We'll get like the Cowsills and some Osmond records.
Oh yeah, no, that's that. There's very few pawn shops or stuff like that around here, but that's why there is a season for yard sale, and I just hit every place that I run across to look for movies and books, and nobody has comics anymore though.
It's funny because my mom loved yard sales, and my father used to be like, there you go, buying other people's garbage. And he wasn't wrong. But I always went with her because you'd be amazed how many great comics I got at yard sales. Like, I'd find some like really expensive rare comic, and I'm like, like I'm trying to have a poker face, not let them know that how much is this comic? Like, 25 cents. I'm like, all right.
Uh,
But I haven't done that in a while. But there are a lot of retro places around by me, but they have bins and bins of LPs, but they know the worth of the comics, so you don't really get comic book deals, but you'll get like vinyl, old books and stuff.
I love the fact that no matter, usually when I go into bookstores, the stuff that I want is the stuff they have in a bin that you buy for like $1 or $2. I go to university bookstores and it's like, oh, look, Thomas Aquinas' commentary on Aristotle's ethics. It's on the discount rack for $2.
Yeah. Oh, wait, you could take that. That's a book. That just keeps the door open. Go ahead. Just just grab that. Yeah. I love old bookstores. I remember, I think I told you this in Albuquerque. I walked into this, like, it was almost like like it was like Plato's Cave. Like, this was the bookstore in Plato's Cave. It was just the perfect bookstore. It was all wooden, and there was this beautiful hippie woman behind the shelf, and she had like incense and like classical music playing. And I just went in there, and I found it a hardcover of To Kill a Mockingbird. And I pulled it off the shelf, and I opened it up, and it started to crack. I was like, oh, this is like really good condition. Like, it hadn't even opened yet. The spine was, and I looked, and it was a first printing. So I was like, oh my, so I didn't want to ruin it. 50 cents. I bought another copy to read, but I got this first printing To Kill a Mockingbird hardcover, like, and I'm not really a speculator, but I just felt it would be like almost like a shame to ruin it,
Do you ever run across something you kick yourself for not buying? I remember running across, somebody had The Hobbit translated into Latin. And I was thinking, why did I not buy that? I wish I had bought that when I had the chance.
Could you read Latin?
Not back then. I can do a little better now, but it's been so long since I've actually sat down with a book and read. I don't know.
Because I keep telling myself I want to learn Latin and I want to learn Japanese, and I haven't done either yet.
It's funny because I do like I can parse through stuff like that just because I use the old missals for Sunday, because I have a priest friend. He keeps on giving me these old missals, which, by the way, you want some spectacular art, go to those things. There's just beautiful art that you've never seen anywhere before, and I love them. But I get my taste of Latin every Sunday. But the other thing I always wanted to learn was Korean, because I took you took what? Were you in like karate or something when you were a kid?
No, not me.
Yeah, but I was in the Taekwondo, right, for like 10, 15 years, and they only spoke Korean, right? So I was like, yeah, I could pick up enough so that I should be able to learn that.
Vaz says, I got my Legion of Superheroes, a lot of Kirby, and the run of Warp at old bookstores for cheap. Yeah, RJ and I have just pontificated about those Legion of Superheroes, how great they are. Like, if you like comic books, track down the Jim Shooter, Paul Levitz era of Legion of Superheroes. You'll be happy you did. You got some great artwork by Keith Giffen, Mike Grell, and other names are Steve Bissett. Not Steve Bissett, Steve Leahy. It's just so good. And Kirby, I mean, geez, we all know about Kirby, but Warp. It's funny that you mentioned that, because those Frank Brunner warps the art is so beautiful, but that story is just like a mismatch. So RJ, I don't know if you're familiar with Warp. I think it was.
Oh yeah, Mike did some of those too.
But Mike Kustovich did that, and Bill Willingham. It's some of Bill Willingham's first comic book work. Just great art. It is so worth it for the art, especially the first 10 issues. It's some of the best comic book art of all time, and I'm not joking. But it's a comic book adaptation of a play that was written by a committee. So that's really all you need to know about the story. It just like really makes no sense. It's like pot smokers fantasy. Yeah, the art is fantastic. It's so good. I recommend it just to look at that art. who was it Mike? No, Frank Bruner. Frank Bruner's art. Oh my God, it's so good.
The only thing I could think of be comparable, but it was much too regularized to be anything too comparable to Warp. But the miniseries that DC put out for Atlantis in the early '80s, that was just spectacular. Same kind of art. It was very like somebody's trippy dream. It's the kind of art where, what the heck was it? It's one touch art. The guy was drawing is like your pen never leaves the page.
Oh wow!
It's like
Do you know who the artist is? I'm
not off the top of my head, but he did do a lot of Red Sonja and some Conan as well.
Old Dirty Fatty says great costumes too. Yeah, the Warp. You keep posted big comic book women beautiful again. Oh my God, the women in Warp are just beautiful, just beautiful women. That's Frank Bruner's thing, is he draws just beautiful women. Old Dirty Fatty says, I've been saying that the Marxists believe that all things are worthy to be destroyed, and you never paid attention. I think you're right. I keep saying, like, I know for, a lapsed Catholic to say, like, I don't believe in the devil, but I believe that other people believe in the devil. So in an Alan Moore way, that means the devil really does exist. And every day that my belief is getting more and more. It's like spackles getting put on, and my belief, it's because, like, just look at all of this horrible stuff, like they're destroying nations, and it's got to be directed. It can't just be a coincidence. Like, I don't believe in coincidences, but like all of these Western nations that believe in individual rights and personal liberty, they're all being eradicated. And all of the stuff, like original Star Trek was individual rights and basically like the American exceptionalism. It was basically Western in space, and the Western was the strong hero and the rugged individual, and then comic books are the same thing. And I do think that there's a subtle attack on Lord of the Rings right now, like, because it really is like a Catholic story. The lembas bread is the Eucharist.
Oh yeah, the ring is a symbol of sin. Yeah, definitely. You read through his letters and stuff like that. Now, I think I said this before, but it's really funny you mention it, because there was a run of Tomb of Dracula where there was a cult that worshiped Dracula, and that was one of the things they did. They would destroy creativity, as this cult that worshipped a vampire, right? They would take things that were creative and destroy them and burn them.
Yeah. Oh wow! I got to reread. It was that in the magazines, or was that in the Tomb of Dracula comic?
That was the comic.
Yeah. My problem with that book is I bought a full run all at once, and I binge read it. And whenever I binge read or binge watch, I don't retain it as much as when I take my time and read it.
Like, but I agree completely about the Tolkien stuff. Yeah, that absolutely, they're trying to destroy Tolkien. There's nothing after Peter Jackson. Don't bother with anything.
Right. Yeah. Like I like this quote. Like the band The Police said, "When the world is running you down, you make the best of what's still around." Yeah, absolutely. It's a good quote. Yeah, it either looks like a huge improbable conspiracy, or there are forces. Yes. What are the odds? What are the odds? That all of this is happening within like a 10-year period, just so happened to be when Obama became president, and then what are the odds that all of these judges are just like, you killed white people? Go ahead, go to jail. Like, it just go ahead. It doesn't matter. Don't you dare kill a black person. Then you're really going to go to jail. And then we're going to riot. We're going to burn down your town, but go kill white people 72 times.
I was just watched a video there today. I had it down in the background. They were doing basically a deep dive. I don't know. It's like a psych hacks or something like that. I don't know. It's a psychology. And they're going ahead. They had 3 different professors, I think, as panelists. And they're talking about feminism. And one of them was going over syllabuses from 1973 for feminist classes. And everything you see today about tearing down the family unit and Marxism and all that kind of stuff that comes out of feminism, it was there in 1973 being taught in universities. So this is not something new. You get these people saying, oh, feminism was always, something different. It used to be freedom. No, this was the direction it was in since the 60s.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny. I was arguing with somebody online, and they called me a TERF. You ever hear that term?
Yeah, trans radical feminist garbage.
Yes. Trans radical exclusionary feminist. And I was like, I resent that. How dare you call me a TERF? I said, I'm not no feminist. And that kind of took the wind out of their sails. But I remember, like, my mother used to be like, I remember these women came to the door. And I trying to remember how old I was. And my mother was a very individual thinker. I took it for granted until I probably was 40 years old. But these women came to the door and they were canvassing. I forget what it was. And my mother was just like, no, I don't believe in feminism. Feminism is wrong. And I just remember the looks on their face that here's a woman telling them that feminism is wrong. And I just remember thinking my mother was crazy. Of course, feminism was good. You know what I mean? Like, I was told it would be like saying, oh, yeah, like kids today, like, climate change is wrong. What are you, nuts? Like, you can't convince anybody under 30 that climate change is a hoax. They've just been conditioned with it since birth. And I remember asking her about it, and she explained it to me, but I guess, like, she wasn't like eloquent like you are or anything like that. But basically she was saying, like, it's identity politics, and we're all people, and I just thought she was crazy. And it wasn't until, like, I was in my 20s and I'm like, oh my God, my mother thought about this when I was a kid. So is it any wonder I'm the way I am? My mother questioned everything. I like that about her. Like, it was funny because she was polite. Like we would have dinner, and like my aunts and stuff would say stuff, and and then on the way home, we're in the car, she'd be like, I can't believe they said this. That obviously didn't happen. Like, she just wasn't in your face about it, but she didn't believe anybody. I inherited my father's gregarious nature and my mother's, like, inquisitive, skeptical nature. Yeah. Funny how the feminists no longer empower women now that they're trying to replace them. Yeah. Like, the only real feminists are people like J.K. Rowling, like, who actually believe in women. One of the words they hate is no. I don't know. Like, to me, feminists now are infantilizing women. Like, they want to liberate them from their consequences, which is just that's what you do to children. That's
take away responsibility. That's it. That's all they want to do.
And yet they use it all the time against us. I keep forgetting Vaz is a woman. Oh, JDA's here. How you doing?
Vaz is a woman. Really? I did not know that.
So he's saying hello to himself. Women won't be needed in the world of AI. Anybody who doesn't produce anything physical is not going to be needed. Like, I'm not delusional. Like, I'm a construction worker. It's only a matter of time before they make robots that'll do my job. But but I think they'll come from me last. Like, anybody who does anything in an office, you're going to be out of work first. Which is why I don't like AI written books, AI comic books, or anything like that. It's just like, you're just hastening your obsolescence. And then what? We just sit here. We're at the mercy of an algorithm for our entertainment and that spark of creativity. It's the death of the creative spirit, and humanity without the creative spirit, we might as well be pets. So that's the way I feel about that. What are your thoughts on Milton's Paradise Lost, RJ? Oh yeah, let's elevate this talk. There you go. Let's.
I haven't read Paradise Lost probably in 30 years. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Oh, Semper Ubi. I hope it's not dirty words. What are you saying there, Tony? Oh, he's talking Latin to you. Do you understand this? Feminine has always had the undercurrent of trying to turn men into women and women into men, but without the natural virtues of either. Yeah, I'm not old-fashioned enough. Like, I work in a male-dominated field, And if a woman could do it without lowering the standards, by all means do it. If you want to, I don't, women, how much brainwashing did it take to go out of your house holding your babies and go into mud pits with me, carrying galvanized pipes, spitting them in the mud, in the rain, in the sleet, in the cold, But if you could do it, that's fine. I can do it, and I don't want to do it. I'd rather be home, if my wife made a fortune, I'd stay home and raise the babies. You know what I mean? but but if you could do it, like I remember I had to take this class, and I was polite, and the teacher had the first woman firefighter in New York City come and give a guest lecture, and I listened, and I was polite, and then at the end, any questions? So I said, "Do you make the city safer?" And she goes, "Well, I'm a fireman." I said, "Well, you just gave a speech. For 22 years, you drove the fire truck." I said, "Anybody could have done that." I said, and traditionally, the person who drove the fire truck was the injured guy or the oldest guy. I said, so all you did, what were you, 22 years old, driving the fire truck, while some 40-year-old man had to go to work with the bad back. I said, now, you bragged that they had to lower the standards so that you could get the job because they didn't want to be sued and be called discriminatory. I said, but your purpose, like the fire department's job, isn't to provide jobs. The fire department's job is to save lives. Now, could you carry my 300-pound father out of a fire with all your equipment? I said, because if you can't do that, I don't care what your sex organs look like. You shouldn't be a firefighter. If you can do it, by all means, be a firefighter. I don't care about the gender of the person that rescues me. I care about the strength and the stamina and the ability of the person that rescues me or my father. I said, we shouldn't be celebrating what you did. You made this city, and the teacher's like, oh, I go, you wait your business. I sat here and listened to this nonsense for 40 minutes. The least you could do is listen to my question, and it was funny because all the kids in the class, we were all adults, they started clapping. And I was just like, you didn't do anything good. You didn't do anything good. You objectively made the city more unsafe. And I think what you did is wrong. And you stole money from the city. Oh my God, did I go off on this woman? Yeah. Yeah. So do you know what this means? I'm just curious. Tony, tell me what this means.
Always wear underwear.
Is that what it means?
As far as I can see.
Oh, good advice. The Romans wore underwear underneath their togas. Okay, that's good to know. We're already at the mercy of an algorithm for all. Everything is manipulated by what? Okay, so surrender to it. Don't put up a fight, John. Just surrender to AI writing. Don't put up a fight, because that's what a good Christian does. They give up in the face of adversity. Turn off the lights on the way out. Yep. We spent thousands of years to make homes as nice as possible. Then a lot of women went to leave. Right. It's unbelievable about how we've been brainwashed into believing. And there's ladies, the one lady watching this, I admire you. If you're staying home and raising your kids, you're doing something admirable. Because I don't have children, so it's, what's the expression? Nobody behaves as well as old maids' children and bachelors' wives. So consider the source. But if I had a kid, we would make do. My wife is going to stay home and raise that kid. Not some minimum wage worker. It's going to instill their values on my kid. So I want to make my kid a weirdo. I don't want somebody else to make my kid a weirdo, but it's easy for me. I don't have kids. So I consider the source. I hold out hopes for countries like Poland and Hungary who seem to understand. Yeah. And it seems like Holland just turned around and something like 90% of their invading immigrants are leaving. They're making it difficult for them. Fill out that form again. No, you're not going to get, the idea that other people like SNAP benefits, I don't know. I'll keep this thought to myself. I'll get myself in trouble with YouTube. But if you don't work, you don't eat. We'll sum it up to that.
Let me throw another coal in the fire for you, John.
Yeah.
All this idiotic land recognition stuff that they do before, speeches and all these, even sometimes before games and stuff like that, indigenous tribe, whatever, land recognition. The culmination of that is happening right now. in Canada, anyways, and it's starting to come to the U.S. as well. These tribes are claiming land that they're saying it was never properly given away by us. We actually still own that land. Therefore, the title that the people who live on it have from the government is no longer sufficient. We own their property.
So you know what I would do? All right, level it.
No, literally, they own BC. They own now like half a city.
Columbia. They want to give all this land back to the Indians.
Oh yeah, like half a city. They're saying they own, they sub-own every house in half of this city. The band now owns half of their title. It's
Like, are
this
they
is crazy.
people, or are they just paying like rent now to the Indians?
It's like this is gonna explode. This is just a court case that I think
destroy the country. It's going to destroy.
Oh yeah.
Country. But I am so stubborn. I would blow up my house. Here you go. You own the land, but you don't own the house. You didn't build this house. You didn't do anything. There you go. You're going to get a smoking crater.
Yeah, this is, and you literally have tribes in the U.S. now claiming some of the BC's land right across the border, because it's like we don't recognize borders and all this kind of stuff. It's like this is, you know, here we need to push back right now. I heard that because this is what I do, right? I mean, I do legal work, and this is part of the legal work that I do.
Right.
If you don't have good title, you're screwed. Right. And if somebody else is claiming half of your title, yeah, it's like you don't own, there's no such thing as private property anymore. This is literally the destruction of the idea of private property and private property ownership.
England wants to get rid of trial by juries.
Yeah.
Like there is no coincidences. Something evil is going on.
Oh, yeah, evil.
It's you will own nothing and like it. And we get to decide. And you know, it's you know, like I said, what is John? Anyway, unblock me and stop being outraged. No, absolutely not. Stop writing. Stop hitting a button and claiming you're an author when AI writes your books. Use your real name on these AI generate. If you're so proud of what you're doing, stop making up fake names. Put your real name on these piece of crap generated books. I have no time. You're not a real person as far as I'm concerned. You're a person who hits a button, slaps some sort of AI generated name and goes, look, I wrote a book. That's a clown. And I got no time for clowns. Grow up, put in some effort. You might be surprised. You might actually be talented when you actually write something. But right now, you're nobody. You're a guy who hits a button. You're a computer algorithm. You yourself are a computer algorithm. You don't write a damn thing. So I got no time for you. Grow up. Put in an effort, and maybe I'll make an effort to talk to you. RJ, what are your thoughts on Greta Thunberg being kicked out and banned from Italy for dyeing the waters of Greece?
She was banned from Venice for 2 days. 2 freaking days. She should have been thrown in prison.
Yeah. She got kicked out for a whoopee at 2 days. Who is this girl? Who is funding her?
Oh, God only knows.
Right.
But
and I know that she doesn't go to India. She doesn't go to China. Go to the places that actually pollute.
I was literally listening to one of my friends, an Indian guy who came here because he wanted to get out of the caste system that he was in over in India. And I'm thinking to myself, and he was talking about how literally on job applications, you have to put your caste because you're not allowed certain jobs if you're of a lower caste and all this thing. Thinking to myself, where are all these people talking about, you know, systemic racism, systemic this, and the problems with lower classes? Why don't they all go over to India? That's the third largest economy in the entire world. Why don't they go over there? They got problems over there more than we have over here. Right. There's something for you to do.
If we need the talented HB1s from India, why isn't India a paradise? You know, it's like, that's what I mean. Like I'm losing faith in you, Trump. You know, Pam Bondi hasn't arrested anybody yet. Come on. Like the only thing I could think of is they're saving it for the October surprise before the midterms. You know what I mean? Like I mean, how glorious would that be? Like a month before the midterm elections, and all of a sudden we see like Obama and Fauci and Bill Gates and Hillary Clinton off to jail. But even that, you know, I'm like, I'm losing hope. I'm losing hope there, Trump. Come on. You know, I'm losing hope. Her parents are politicians. Yeah, I put out 2 issues of comics. I did it all. I'm a professional and you're an amateurist hobbyist. Okay, you're not real. You AI generate novels. You put other people's names on it, and then people buy them by accident. You're a scam artist, John. You're a scam artist. Put your real name on these books if you're so proud of them, but you won't do that because you know you're doing something wrong. You're not gonna, and you're over here begging for my attention. So, go figure. I don't know. What do you think about AI written books?
Oh, that's what I was just talking about 20 minutes ago, about the fact that I'd, for history books, I wouldn't read anything prior to 1950. Right now, it's getting to the point where there is so much AI, you can't trust anything now anymore. I mean, anything written before 2020 is the only thing that's going to be an actual book from now on. Anything written after 2020, 2025 especially, is like, how do I know this is even written by a person?
Right.
Why?
It's really, really bad. Like, I don't know how to college. Well, first off, I have no respect for college professors anymore. But like, just imagine you're a good one. These students have got to be handing in like AI generated term papers. Like, how would you deal with that? You're closer to academia than I am.
Oh yeah, the idiotic thing is you got some professors getting AI to write their class stuff for them, and then the kids getting AI to answer the questions for them on the papers and things like that. So there's no untangling it at this point.
Right.
It's like you're going to have like oral reports and all that. You're going to have to go back to actual face-to-face one-on-one teaching, and some actual, I remember when my first classics professor, I went into his class, and he said, "You got a job, you got a kid, you got a mother you're taking care of. You're out of my class. Leave now." He said, "You need to live like a monk, and I'm going to drill this stuff into you." And I'm thinking to myself, this guy is crazy. But I'm looking at academia right now and thinking to myself, this is what you need. You need people like that who be on your case, and you're going to have to participate in the class and basically give her a book report for the entire class to prove that you actually read the flipping thing if you want to mark anymore.
I remember, believe it or not, I took a history of Islam in my third year of college, and the teacher just sprung a surprise oral exam, and she said, "This is the only way that I know that you know it," and and she just like literally like randomly just picked people. Like, she had some sort of like chart that she just like, John, and then question, like, so there was no way you could steal a test or anything. And it was like, I just remember I got an A on it, and she actually invited me to her house for dinner. She was like, "You're the only person," but luckily she picked the one question that I happened to know very well, but oh man, that was a tough class because everybody's name was Muhammad. You're like, which Muhammad are you talking about? Yeah, AI generated YouTube shorts, they're the plague. They're just spamming out videos, and you're watching them. The real problem with the Lord of the Rings, and then like halfway through you realize it's the same voice on every other video. Yeah, my YouTube usage has gone way down. Like, it's one of the reasons. Like, I don't trust anything anymore. Everything's freaking AI. There's no soul in it anymore. There's no effort. And next thing you know, they want to give people UBI.
The big problem is not only that, John, but the thing is that, okay, you got all these creative tools for AI in your YouTube channel right now. And basically, so I watch a lot of psychology stuff, right? But the thing is that you got massive amounts of these AI generated stuff for psychology now, and I can recognize them. Normal people probably can't, but I can recognize, like, I'd say 90% of the time. And you got to scroll down and look for a few things and find it. But the secondary problem is the people who are doing actual psychology are looking at what videos are doing well, and they're only doing well because they're being churned out by AI and just spammed all over the place. And then they're regurgitating some of this stuff and going in that direction as to what to study and what to say. And and the whole thing is just a complete mess.
It's funny. I remember Tom Cruise jumping up on the chair and yelling and everything like that with Oprah Winfrey. We all made fun of him. And one of the things he was like, "I know the history of psychology. You don't." And I was like, this guy's a freak. Was it 30 years later? I'm just like, psychology's a scam. Like, people are more depressed, more anxious, more crazy than ever. Like, if rocket science is a science, it got us to the moon. Now, could you imagine if like we had rocket science and all rocket science did was explode and kill people? Oh, but rocket science is we have psychology, and people are more crazy, more anxious, more nervous, afraid to talk to people. What is psychology doing then? Get rid of it. At this point, like, boil a toad in some lizard blood and drink it. It's just as valid as psychology. Yeah. But PB, I think this is Logic's finest. He says, if AI is writing the book, you're not the author. Absolutely. If John Longbox puts out one comic every 18 months, I know it's real, written, drawn by real people. Yep. I'll buy them. AI generated books are scam. Absolutely. If you want to do it, do it. Who am I to tell you do it? But I don't admire you, and you're not doing it. If you need AI to do your book, that's like saying you need a mech suit to play football. You're not an athlete. You know what I mean? You're relying on artificial means to do it. I don't want to watch robots play baseball. I want to watch humans. I want to watch humans hone this skill. AI, it's like having a wheelchair. Your legs are never going to develop. You're just riding around a motorized wheelchair everywhere you go, and now when the wheelchair breaks down, you can't cross a room. Develop your skills. I was doing work in downtown Manhattan a couple of years ago, and RJ, I'm sure you've been downtown Manhattan, like the Wall Street area. You see some of these beautiful, beautiful buildings, and there's literally gargoyles and stuff like that in the concrete. Well, when me as an electrician, when I get assigned to one of these buildings, it's a nightmare because you can't do anything. You know what I mean? You can't damage any of these beautiful frescoes or anything like that, but you got to run wires, and everything is a workaround and whatever. But long story short, whenever those things get damaged, we actually have to go to Italy and find Italians to come over here and fix all that cement. We don't have the ability. We lost that skill in America. And you know what I mean? And where are we going to go when these and they're all old guys? It's like Pop is coming over to fix, and they got cigars in their mouth, and you ain't telling them that they can't do that, because who else is going to do it? So they show up, they got the cigars, they take a 3-hour lunch break, you know what I mean? And they use their old wooden tools, and they repair it, and it's a work of art. But we can't do it. What are we going to do when these guys die? Like another little thing that I've been fascinated with is player pianos. That's AI, right? But to build those, that's like watchmaker skill to build those player pianos. And I saw a documentary about 20 years ago, and they said that there was only like one family left in America that knows how to build and repair those, and that there's speculators buying all these player pianos, and they're waiting for that last guy to die, because then there could be no more, and the prices are going to skyrocket. Like writing is going to be one of these lost arts.
I agree.
If you're using AI to do, you're not a writer. Full stop. Yeah. What did they ask? Something about a TV show. I like Tony. Father Ted isn't. Do you know this show?
Yeah.
It's
an Irish show.
It's an Irish show. So I've heard it's good. Ireland's committing suicide these days. I've been watching these best of lists. I stopped falling for them. They're all AI generated, and they all use the word systematic way too much. Now that I said that, you guys are going to notice, and it's going to drive you crazy. RJ, in your opinion, what is the best Frankenstein live adaptation?
There hasn't been a good one. Besides maybe the black and white stuff. But none of them are any good, really. Go back to the book, read the book.
The book is outstanding. It's a page. I was just talking about this yesterday with Fabrizio Aiello. It's one of his favorite books. It's an action thriller. It's so good, and it's heavy on the philosophy. It's one of the books I go back and reread every like maybe once a decade. But I agree with you. The original one it's still my favorite. It's not the book, but it became its own art. If that movie wasn't made, I kind of think maybe Frankenstein would have been lost. you know. So just like The Wizard of Oz is vastly different than the book, but I like the original movie and I love the book, you know.
And because I don't know about any time today, but when we were growing up, John, I'm sure you remember this, but Frankenstein, there was Frankensteins everywhere, and then this was in the 80s, right? I mean, and when would the movie came out? Like in the 40s? It's like that. I mean, that kind of Frankenstein with
Right.
the lugs nuts coming out of its
Yeah, I
neck and
love
all
the
that.
why are they there? You know, did he literally bolt that head on? You know, but that's great. You know, it's great. It looks awesome. That's where he attaches the jumper cables. Yeah, it's so good. And then he throws that little girl in the water. Oh my God, it breaks my heart every time I see it. You know, it's so good. Just like the original Dracula, they are good. You know, John, do you think the fact that the inmates, I love this question. Do you think that the inmates of Arkham have a higher recidivism rate because of psychology as a crock? They have a high recidivism rate because psychology is a crock and because Gotham City is run by Democrats. Right? I mean, look at that guy. He was arrested 77 times and for 8 felonies, and he still lit that woman on fire. Tell me that's not a judge from Gotham City?
I'm sure if Gotham City were actually real, it would be called Arkham, prison for the criminally misunderstood or something like that.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things I'm trying to do in my comp. Like, there's something spiritually wrong with Science City. There's something, and I've already dropped clues in it in the first issue, you know, and there's a reason why people wake up and put on a costume and become a killer clown. I like the idea that, like, I think Neil Gaiman, I forget what book it was, Arkham Asylum, maybe, the graphic novel, he was saying that there's like a spirit in Gotham City that's driving everybody insane. I don't know. I know how people, Neil Gaiman is a hot topic these days, but I like the idea that, like, a town without pity, you know, that like some cities have, like, cursed, there's the cursed city or the lucky city. I love all that stuff. Like, the Celts have that, like the hidden magical cities and the enchanted cities, you know. So I kind of, if for those of you who read Heroic Tales #2, I hinted that there's a city in perpetual darkness, Umbra City. You know, it's for some reason, I don't want to get into it yet, it's in perpetual darkness. So werewolves and vampires gravitate there, and there's a whole political situation about that. And I'm working on a few stories with another artist about Umbra City. But I love that. I love, like, Jack Kirby's little hidden cities, and Talon is, I don't know. I love that. But to me, that's the only thing that explains Gotham City. You know, like, literally the Joker poisons like 87 people, and then, like, 2 weeks later he's out doing it again. You know, but in real life, it's because the Democrats are running the city. During the hockey strike a long time ago, pubs started putting EA Sports on 2 computer teams, which just was not the same. Oh man, yeah, that's no different than AI. Good example. Yeah,
I honestly think, to me anyways, watch baseball. It's, you got to get good commentators, because there was a guy, I was watching the Yankees and Blue Jays on the internet because I couldn't watch the game for some reason. I couldn't remember why. And there was some guy with an accent, heavy New York accent, and he was just recording it on his phone. I was watching it. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I can see what's going on, but the commentators, you got to get good commentators, and they're half the game, right?
Right. I remember growing up, Howard Cosell. I'm dating myself now. You know how Howard Cosell's, right?
Yep.
I mean, that guy's voice, it was just this nasally voice. And I just remember watching I'm playing with my toys in the living room. My father and my uncles, everybody's watching and my father just stands up, walks to the TV, and turns the sound down and says, "From now on in this house, we are never to hear Howard Cosell's voice ever again." So they started watching football in silence. rather than listen to that guy's voice. I like this comment here. Here you go, Arkham, the Arkham safe space for the criminally marginalized and oppressed. that's too. It's almost scary how that's probably what they would do. John, what are your thoughts on the Trump Mandini meeting at the White House? It creeped me out how chummy they were. Like I said, I'm losing faith in Trump, but part of me thinks that was a brilliant tactic by Trump.
I agree.
Because he's like, go ahead, call me fascist. Like he did a bunch of things in that meeting. And I'm not one of these, Trump is playing 4-3D chess. No, he's just a guy. You know, he has as many strikeouts as he has hits. But this one I thought was pretty brilliant. What it did was it showed all of the Trump derangement people to doubt Mandini. You know, look, they're getting along. Like, if I was next to Trump, I would punch him, and they're chummy. And then he's like, yeah, go ahead, call me fascist. It's okay. Like, he took away the power of that word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and all the really screwy leftists, quote unquote progressives, are freaking out now just because he was nice to them, and they're trying to get away from Mandani as quickly as possible. I'm thinking, right. Yep, there you go.
Yep, yeah, I think it was kind of brilliant, but maybe I do have like a morbid let's burn the world down streak in me, because I'm kind of happy he was elected. I just want to see New York like burn now. Like, I'm turning into the Joker. Like, I'm old enough now that I probably could retire. It would be tough, but I could probably do it if I moved like out of state, you know, sold my house, sold my comic books. I you know what I mean? I don't want to. A couple more years and I don't have to sell my comics. But like, so like I got one foot out the door. So let's see these social. Yeah, we're gonna have free public trains and buses and no cops, right? So we're gonna have all the homeless and all the criminals living on the trains, right? That sounds like heaven, you know. I honestly think that this guy is like a Manchurian candidate. You know, he came from Uganda. He's only been in the country 7 years. He came here to destroy New York. You know, like this you can't convince me otherwise. He doesn't believe all this stuff. He's like too perfect. He's charming. He's good looking. You know what I mean? Like he looks like if I was to build a politician robot, I would build him. You know what I mean? Like, he's just too perfect. He's a plant. He's working for somebody else, whether it's the Soros, Satan, Moloch. I don't know who he's working for, but he's a plant to destroy New York. And if he could destroy New York, you know, the rest will fall, is what I think. You know, real supervillains are more scarier than the Joker. I have a crazy belief that a physical modern world will start to fall apart since AI is being used to aid the design of it. My belief is that engineers had a tendency to do over design. Yeah. I do think that there are benefits of AI, but creativity AI shouldn't be used to replace creativity. AI should be used to like enhance, like check over, you know, a doctor using AI to help diagnose stuff. And you know what I mean? Like, the human memory can only go so far. I got no problems with that. Or an engineer using AI to check to see if these plans work, or electrical system. But like, to make a novel, to make a movie, you know, it's inspiration. It's inspiration is from the same root as you know, spirit, you know, human, you know. It'll be the death of civilization if we AI, like somebody on Twitter, I know this is a stupid thing to say, but it really, like, artificial intelligence is supposed to make it so that like I don't have to work, I don't have to build houses, I don't have to work on my car and, you know, go to the office, that I have the time to do all the creative stuff, to write my comic books, to draw my comic books, to write novels. That's what AI was promised. Not AI is going to write all the novels and I still got to go in the mud pit, in the rain. It's ass backwards. How's that, old dirty fatty? How's that, RJ?
Yeah, that plus the fact that our economy for the last 50 years has focused on giving useless people useless jobs so they have something to do, and now they're going to have nothing to do.
Right. Yeah. Yep. How you doing, Matthew? How's your campaign doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, you know, I'm going to get real crude for a second. We have a lot of problems in the United States, and I think a big majority of the problems in the United States would be solved, and I'll say this as RJ friendly as possible, if women chose their sexual partners better. I usually say it a lot cruder, believe it or not. But you know what I mean? Like, F smarter is the way I normally say it. You know, people having 5 kids, they can't feed them, so they need the government to have free breakfasts. They need to expand the school hours. So, you know, and then we got to provide jobs that people, you know, and then we got to provide SNAP benefits. But if we just had like like Japan, like an intelligent, they pick their fathers a little bit better. I think we as a culture we'd be on Saturn by now. We are literally saddled by the weakest willed, least intelligent people. Like, we cannot progress because we are making it so that stupid people just have an easy life. You know, I remember growing up, we used to say it should be difficult to be stupid. And now we have like toxic empathy, you know. Well, I'm sorry, Dirty Fatty. Maybe you should do some sit-ups. I don't know what to tell you. Me too. My wife settled with me. RJ, do you think Canada is going to survive another 20 years?
Nope. Straight up no. But that being said, this Canada has gone through what, like at least 4 different iterations since it began, so it might morph into something else. But the current status quo is not going to last 20 years.
Vazvez says, if we remove Ontario from the equations, almost all the other provinces can come to agreement, work together. Which is Ontario where Toronto is?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's I read someplace that like Vancouver and Toronto basically pick the government. Like,
it's because of the number of people, basically.
Yeah.
It's a first past the post system, so it's not even anywhere comparable to the American system, where you have the balance with small states and large states, which is necessary.
Yeah. Anybody who argues against the electoral college is a moron. You know, we have the electoral. Why? So we don't have civil war. You know, I cannot believe that England is considering getting rid of trial by jury. You know, what is going on?
Oh, that's not half it, John. You do know in Canada they have human rights trials now, which basically there's no jury, it's only judge, and you don't have the right to defend yourself.
Oh, what? You know what? Just save money and just get rid of the judge whatsoever. You know what I mean? Just accuse people and throw them in jail. You know,
pretty much it.
Yeah. Ah, man. So now, like, my conspiracy sense is going off. Then, like, I'm wondering if they being the evil conspiracy, you know, the WEF is who I think is the one doing all of this. You know, the globalists. Did they sense weakness in Canada and they're overloading the system so that it will collapse, so that they could rewrite the Constitution?
As I always said, and this is literally something we used to discuss back in the 90s in political science class, Canada is the experiment of whether or not they can, because it's close enough to geographically, and basically the people are the same as Americans, say 75% close enough. They're the experiment to see if something crazy will work in America.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here you go. England's on the way to having Judge Dredd. You know, it shows a lot that England's biggest superhero is a fascist cop, and America's biggest superhero is a farm boy. You know, truth, justice. It really does show you the differences between, you know, yeah, I look at, we have a close relationship with England, but we really have a different mentality. Like there's no other, I don't know, maybe Australia did at one point, but they lost it. Like this rugged individuality, this freedom of like build it with your own two hands and stuff. Like you don't have that in England. Did Canada ever have that? Like those, you hear those stories of those old fur trappers going off and stuff. That is that still part of Canadian culture?
I don't think yes and no. I'd say it's on its way out very quickly, especially now. And part of it is because, believe it or not, in my opinion, anyways, is because of satellite technology. And you can't just go off because there's plenty of places 20 years ago, and definitely when we were kids, you could go and just build yourself a house in the middle of nowhere in Canada, and no one would ever know you would be there because no one had ever been there before. Like I'd say there's places in Canada where no human has set foot yet. But, now they got satellite technology. They're tracking every last thing that moves. And if you try to do something by yourself that's out of the ordinary, they're just going to slap government rules on you and fine you for this, that, and the other thing.
I read someplace that in the Yukon that there's a community in the Yukon. There's people that live there, and one of the wives got breast cancer, so they all chipped in and they made an MRI clinic because there wasn't one. So they made it up, but they, so you could go there, get the scans, and then they would, transmit that data to a doctor elsewhere who would interpret the data. So like they weren't doctors, but they learned how to beat MRI scan. And the Canadian government closed them down because it was outside the government system.
Oh yeah, there's massive things like that.
Die of cancer, don't help yourselves. We'll get there. Like, I was just like, what the F? And then I read in the same article that Mexico has more MRI machines than Canada. And we, nothing, I don't want to say anything bad about Mexico, but like Canada's supposed to be like the first world and everything, you know what I mean? And Mexico has more MRIs. What's going on? So like nobody gets beans unless everybody has beans. Well, do we have enough beans for everybody? No, so nobody gets beans. Well, how about we give people beans? It's insane. So go ahead. I know you're living in the Yukon, people, but die. Not now that made it. I feel depressed. Have you thought about dying?
Oh yeah, that was, and it's probably like 20 years ago. It was like, I remember talking to people in my family, women, they were turning 60, and all of a sudden the government stopped allowing women over 60 to be tested for like the kinds of cancer that would normally kill them. And they asked them, they said, why? Is there something new? Is it medical? And they're going, no, it's just that, you're not really useless anymore, basically. You're not really useful anymore, basically. So why will we bother, spending all this money trying to figure out whether you have cancer?
It's not cost effective. Yeah. And that's what Sarah Palin was talking about when she said death panels, and they all made fun of her. I mean, she wasn't literally saying there's death panels in Obamacare, but there's, that's we're talking figuratively, and people understood, but they had to assassinate metaphorically Sarah Palin. I have problems with Sarah Palin, but she wasn't wrong about that. Tony Grigo says something that I totally agree with. There are no human rights. There are only human privileges, which can be revoked by the government. Yeah, that's why, like I said, for the longest time, I thought white people were under attack. Now, that is the veneer that they slap on this. I said this with RJ a million times. It's the concept of Western culture that's under attack. Individual rights, freedom of expression, God-given inalienable rights. That is what they're trying to get rid of. It just so happens that came out of Greece, went into Europe, and then went into the Americas. That, I don't know enough about South America to know if it took a hold in South America, but the white Western world is, as far as I know, the champion of that kind of thinking, and that kind of thinking must be eradicated. That's why they're flooding us with collectivists. Sorry, India, sorry, China, sorry, Africa, you're collectivists. I know you might not be communists, but you have this you don't have this individualist frame that the United States and England and Ireland and Australia used to have. That's what they're doing, Tony.
In my opinion, if the U.S. and the idea of freedom of expression dies, that's the world is done.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Yep. The British people's objective fear. Yeah, I know. You're not allowed to defend yourself. So some guy just got attacked, pulled out of his car, and then they sexually assaulted his girlfriend in front of him. And he's not allowed. Like, I don't know. That I would become the Punisher. You know, I would just like, what else do I got to do with my life after that? And then England, I'm sure if that guy defended himself, I read a story. Man, I was still living with my parents, so I'm trying to think how many years ago that was. In England, a guy pulled over his wife and his baby in the car, and he was changing the tire, and a guy pulled over under the guise of helping him. And when he gave him he's like, yeah, let me do this. And he took the tire jack out and then started hitting the guy with the tire jack and assaulting the wife. And then the guy defended himself, like, while the guy was distracted. I'm trying to parse around the details. While the guy was busy with the wife, he ended up getting on top of the guy, bashing his head against the curb and like putting him in a coma. Guess who went to jail? You know what I mean? The husband. I was right then and there. This was what, 25, 30 years ago? It was before I met my wife. And all I could think of is back then I said, England is done. If the right to defend yourself isn't sovereign, you don't have a nation. You know, if your government doesn't allow you to defend your life, liberty, you know, and property, then the government is unjust. You know, and that's what we have right now. You know, look at that guy, Daniel Perry. He was saving other people's lives. Granted, he was acquitted, but look what that. He has to leave New York. He can't live in New York. Why do you think the vast majority of English comic writers are into destruction of the heroic ideal? Yeah, you're right. You know,
I think that the place where, let's just put it this way, the place where socialists fled to was England. That when they got driven out of, I don't know, Russia, Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, that's what they fled to, was Europe. And they contaminated the university system there first before anyplace else.
Well, not only that, all the rugged individualists left. You know, so between the two, and they still got a freaking king. I don't know. Anybody from England here in the audience? We got a bunch of people watching. Did Charles convert to Islam? Because that's the only thing that makes sense. The King of England is got to be a Muslim. I don't see him tweeting or saying it. The guy's supposed to be the head of the Anglican Church. I never see him saying anything about being the Anglican guy. He's always talking about Ramadan and the diversity, and now they're lying and say Muslims helped build England. Kidding me? You know, Muslims didn't. And I remember back in the 90s when I was in college, even my history professor was like, they're trying to tell us that the Iroquois somehow influenced the Constitution. He goes, it's nuts, and there's no basis for it. You know, and now the Ken Burns documentary, they're talking about how the American Indians influenced, and Thomas Jefferson stole whole passages. Where is this document? Where is this document that Thomas Jefferson stole? Knock it off. And people believe in this nonsense. You know, it's 1984. We're literally rewriting the past. You know, here in America, if you're old, they ask you if you want HD flu vaccine with twice as much vaccine. Yeah, don't get the vaccine. Don't get the flu vaccine. It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. It makes you sick. I think I figured out something. Leftists think anger bestows both skill and righteousness. I saw this while watching Looper and thinking it applied to comic book movies. Have you? Yeah. Well, the left believes that their feelings justify things. What do you think, RJ?
I think that the people in charge think that the people underneath them are just useful idiots to be used as weapons more than anything else. That's why they make them angry and then point them in the direction of who they want destroyed. That's about it.
Yeah, I say this all the time. The left is about feelings and the right is about consequences. You know, that's, you know, if I boiled the left and the right into nutshells, that's what I believe. Hey guy, I'm the process. RJ, have you heard of the artist Matt Rhodes? He's currently working on an antediluvian story about Noah and the Nephilim. No, but point me.
I haven't heard that either.
Yeah, tag us, post something on Twitter, or send me something. This sounds really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. And I'll say that Noah and the Nephilim have something to do with this exciting story that I just thought up the other day. That I will not use AI to write. I'll use my brain, my talents, and research, because I'm not a lazy person, and I don't want to steal. I don't want the glory of something without putting in the work. You know,
where's the fun?
What's that?
Where's the fun in creating a comic if you can't write it? I mean,
Right.
we're writers. Where is the? I mean, there's a lot of junk you have to go through in order to actually produce a comic book. Why would you cut out the thing that's the actual fun part?
A, you don't have talent. B, you're lazy. And C, you're doing it for accolades, and you don't care how you get them. You know, and the less said, the better. John, the funny thing is, the royal family may be the only thing slowly to march to totality. One of the only things slowly to slow the march to totalitarianism. I don't know enough about the way the English system works, but is it a coincidence that all this stuff happened after Elizabeth died? You know what I mean? Like, and now all of a sudden, like, I mean, yeah, it was always a little bit bad, but like, I see Prince Charles like handing out food at Ramadan and dressed in Muslim gear and everything like that. I never see him like, he's the head of the Anglican Church. Shouldn't he be saying a mass or something? You know, RJ, does the King of England like preside over a mass or anything, like, or is he just like the figurehead?
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Like, the Pope still gives mass. He's the head of the Catholic Church. And what is it? The Patriarch in the Greek Orthodox Church? Isn't that the name of the leader of the Patriarch of the Greek Orthodox and Russian Church? I don't know. So RJ, let's tone this down a little bit. You know, we're getting a little doom and gloom. So, you want to tell us? I know you got a Fade to Blue, and you got Crom Destroyer. You also got a Valiant Heroes in the works. So you got 3 comics in the works right now.
Yeah, Valiant Heroes #2, which is a large graphic novel, probably the last large graphic novel that I'll be doing. Probably be moving to floppies after that. Besides that, I have Artemis, which is the manga, which we're working on. I got an artist in Japan working on it. Besides that, I think that's the 4 that we have on the go right now. Like I said, I got half a dozen other stories in my head and on my page, but that's what we're working on right now. Those 4.
Okay, 4. Okay, I forgot about Artemis. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and you're gonna go with floppies. Yeah, I don't know. I like floppies, and you know, I gotta be as economical as possible. Like, I'm, you know, believe me, if the next issue takes off, and when I say takes off, I'm talking like 15 grand. That, you know, that's a windfall for me. Somebody like me. That'll fund like 3 more books, you know. But if you know, if I did like $25,000, I might do like a graphic novel sized book or something like that. You know, I just got to be economical about it. You know, Charles was always a bit of a prick, and his mom tried outliving him, so he would. Yeah, I know. I heard that she didn't want him to be king, but I don't know. Just the whole idea that there's a king in the first place in England at this time, and he's a king, and he can't really do anything. Like, he's not allowed to talk about politics. He's not a king. Like, a king is just like points to people and have them executed. If you can't do that, then you're not a king. What good are you? You know. Did you read? I saw this today that they did something in England, like they're invalidating the Magna Carta. Is that the trial by jury?
I imagine that's trial by jury stuff that they're talking about.
Yeah, because I saw Carl Benjamin saying, like, you know, today in England we're invalidating whole parts of the Magna Carta. You know, and I didn't get enough. I didn't have enough time to actually read it. I saw it right before we went live. So, are you buying any new comics? Anything new that you read or recommend?
Not right at this moment. No, my life has been pretty hectic this last year, so to say the least. So I'm not in a position to be poking around looking for new comics to buy. Right? Unfortunately, I'm trying to get stuff out. Is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I just like in the past 2 days, I got a lot of crowdfunded books. This is excellent. I'm only halfway. I started reading it right before we went live. This is really good so far. I got one question I want to ask Phil about it, just because I'm an anal retentive. And then he sent me the silhouette for free because he was just testing his printing. Like that. This is crowdfunding, ladies and gentlemen. I got Voltage and Imperium from Project Neurosis. This is store-bought stuff. I know I got other. Oh yeah, I didn't read this yet, but I got Psychic Sam by Mark Miller, and that was at John Romita Jr. I'm still buying new comics, but for the past 2 weeks I haven't really read too much because I'm trying to get this done. Vaz is asking, John, did I read Planet Death? No, I don't know anything about it. What is it? Tweet me or send me a message or put it in the comments after the comments, not the chat, because I'm never gonna be able to find it in the chat. I won't remember. Anything you want to talk about? I'm kind of running out of topics.
No, honestly, I think we should wrap it up. I think we're going for 2 hours.
Right,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. So, comics, yay! Comic books, yeah. So I guess at the end of the stream, Heroic Tales 2 is I'd say about just under 50% fulfilled. People are getting it. I got a couple of good reviews. If there are any bad reviews, I haven't heard them yet. Believe me, if you got criticism, it ain't gonna hurt my feelings as long as it's you just don't hate me and you hate my comic books, because that doesn't help me. But if you got anything, lay it on me. I want to get better. Renzo is hard at work at Patriarch #1. Wow, it's so good. It's so much better. That's my goal, is to have every script better and better and better. And I think I'm accomplishing that. What do you think, RJ? I'm sure you have do you think your new scripts are better than your old scripts? Not that your old scripts are bad, but you know what I'm saying. Are you improving?
I think my improvement is more in the skill of producing the comics than my writing right now, is because I'm trying different ways to write. Not that, Renzo still wants a full script, but all the other guys that I'm working with want something less than a full script. And I'm trying to do like the manga that I'm doing. We're doing it Marvel method, and it's working spectacular.
Oh, cool. One of the guys I'm working with said, do you mind giving me a Marvel method script? And he's a guy that made his own comics. So of course I trust him. His comics are better than mine. I'm glad that he's working with me. And I started to write like Marvel script, and I just felt like I was cheating. I was just like, guy walks into a store. So I was like, I'm going to write a full script because that's what I know what to do. But whatever you want to do, as long as you don't change my world building, do whatever you want. So he's happy to do that. But I don't know. I write a full script, and then I give Renzo the whole script, and then I'll give him pictures of like, this guy looks like this object looks like this, and do you find with Renzo, do you have to like ask him for changes? Because I don't know. I think I overwrite, so there's never any changes.
Every once in a while, the stuff with Renzo is not so much changes that I have to make for his drawings. It's more like flip the panel or things like that, because this character needs to be on the left, this character needs to be on the right because of the way that the dialogue is laid out, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, it's funny because if he does that, I just change the dialogue. Yeah. I see that. Do you guys? Oh yes, happy Thanksgiving. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Yes. Are you doing a big Thanksgiving?
No, doing a small Thanksgiving, but still making sure that it's celebrated.
Do you like the traditional Thanksgiving, or are you like one of these weirdos that do like I don't know, lasagna or something like that?
No, usually sometimes we do turkey, but we used to. I haven't done this in a little while, but we would always hunt with my father, and we'd have goose, right? So,
ooh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Isn't that the original? The original Thanksgiving was like goose or something. It wasn't turkey. I don't think turkey was like later on, just because it got to be easier. But I loved the traditional Thanksgiving. I love the turkey, the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, the green beans, the corns. And I love. My wife is making all that. And then I'm a simple, basic person. What is your favorite dessert, RJ?
My favorite dessert, it's chocolate
Yeah.
cake.
Oh, like a chocolate cake. Because my favorite is it's just a chocolate pudding in a crust, like chocolate pudding pie with real homemade whipped cream. That's it. Matter of fact, if push comes to shove, just a bowl of whipped cream is my favorite dessert. Yeah, I'm a simple person. The politician who proposed the abolition of juries in the UK is a migrant. There you go. I, you know, the older I get, the more I think like you got to be born here and have stakes in this culture to be like you should be able to be born in Uganda and then 7 years later you're running a major American city. Like I thought that like the voting system like we didn't need term limits because the people should be like we should be the natural term limit. But Nancy Pelosi's in the office for 800 years, so apparently like the Americans don't vote smart, or do they even vote at all? I really am thinking like because of this resistance to IDs, I really think like illegal aliens come in, they're part of the census, so ballots are generated. They never make it in the hands of these Somalians or Indians or whatever. The Democrat politicians just take these ballots and fill them out themselves, voting for themselves. Look, we won again. And the average Somali guy is just walking around going, where's my EBT? They didn't even know that they voted. That's what I think. That's how I, so like Trump, you got to get in person, same day voter ID. It's the only way because maybe J.D. Vance will be the next president, maybe Ron DeSantis, but in 12 years they'll be Democrats and they're going to line us up and put us in gulags because they are nasty. They are nasty. They taken advantage of the fact that we're still playing by the old rules, and they tossed out the rule book and doing whatever they want, So anyway, happy Thanksgiving. Tony, when Canada collapses, what will take its place?
An actual confederation, which is really weird because Canada calls itself a confederation. It's actually a federation, whereas the U.S. Calls itself a federation. It's actually a confederation. So what will take its place will be an actual confederation where there's regional, basically small countries like Alberta will be its own country, and so will BC, maybe joined together with a few others. Then there's going to be an actual confederation. The Maritimes will probably have to be consolidated into one small country, and that's probably what will take place.
Really, you think so?
Yep.
And you think that will that be good? Will that work?
It will be more just and even as to the people who make the money get to keep the money, and the people who are living in regions where you can't make money are just going to have to suffer.
Because I wonder, like, okay, that sounds good, and then there's like 6 or 7 little countries. It just makes it easy for like the Soros to come and take over them. Like it's almost like divide and conquer. That's what I think. Old dirty fatty, I do not, because it just means more Democrats. Canada is just so left of us, except for maybe like Alberta. It just means more Democrats. That's why I don't want Puerto Rico to be a state. It's just another 2 Democrat senators. Yep. All right. See, I don't know when we could do another one of these because I'll be back to the midnight unless RJ wants to stay up late.
Well, we'll try. Just anybody who wants to come to my channel next Wednesday, maybe Thursday, not sure which. John and I will try to do a stream on my channel, hopefully next week. So look out for that, and I'll let you know on Twitter if you're on Twitter that we're a go. Depends on John's schedule and what we can swing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I enjoy talking with you. We got all the politics out of the way. Maybe we'll actually talk about comic books next week. Comic book team up where we talk about WEF, screw it over the world. Thank you, Vaz. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I got nothing else to say. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. See you later.
See ya.